Hello, YouTuber whoopers. This is one of those times where you record 30 minutes of video and you didn't hit the record button. So this is my battery monitor. You can, this is, it's watching the 24 volts. The two banks, 24 volts. And amperage, percent full, or not full, I guess, the two battery banks. I know that when this thing gets down to 21 volts, it gives me an alarm if I'm still taking power from it. This is my main panel for this side of the house. Runs the green room, the weeds room, which is my mini greenhouse, and it runs the living room, which is where I spend most of my time, sleep and everything. And yeah, the lights. I have a ground fault breaker in there for the outlets that are on the wet wall, and so this is basically a 110 block. I do have this outlet up here, which is an L1 and L2. I don't know why I put that in. I'm sure I had a reason for being able to get to the two different sides, but at the moment I don't remember what it was. Nothing like age. This panel over here is my 220 panel from the main panel. And this runs the dryer on the other side of the wall. It feeds this panel over here. And it also goes to this 1 farad capacitor down here that's supposed to take care of spikes and surges on the house. It's the furthest from the main panel, which was part of the instructions of installing it. It's supposed to help with energy consumption because you don't have the spikes that you would normally have when a compressor like a air conditioner or refrigerator turns on. Whether it really works or not, I really have no idea, but it's there. So, and it doesn't cause me any problems. Over here on the side, I have 3 inverters. The first inverter, this one here, is for feeding the other side of the house, the north side of the house. And that panel feeds into this transformer. And this would be the transformer that you'd use for a PIP MVP PIP inverter that has that 230 power that's from Europe. And it would split phase it into 240 with 2 legs and a common ground, which is what we use in the US. It also will take 120 and split 120 into 240, which is the way I have it set up, that I can feed 220 into my off-grid panel that I have on the north side of the house. And that way it would cover things like the water pump, the furnace, the refrigerators, My computer, a bunch of lights and outlets and stuff. And that panel, the heat though, the heat uses a lot of power, which something I really hadn't completely realized until I've gone through a few seasons here. And I'm able to pay attention to the electric bill. And when that furnace goes on, the electric bill goes up. So I use more power in the wintertime just running the furnace than I do in the summertime running a window air conditioner or two, which is rather interesting to me. But it is what it is. So the next thing is up here we have a transfer switch, and this transfer switch will transfer grid power that feeds from the main panel in the main power room over to this room. When I throw this switch, I isolate this power room from the grid. So that way I don't have any backfeed issues when the grid comes back online. And the room is isolated. So that's the first thing you do when the grid goes down, is you throw that switch to isolate the main panel from, all of this, because you want to be in control, and you certainly don't want to be putting power out onto the grid. Eventually, the grid's going to come back online. It's going to be a problem. Now, this transfer switch over here is for the generator. And on the outside of this wall, there's a generator plug, 30 amp generator plug, and that will feed power into this panel. And this panel gives the option of switching between the panel that's on the in the main room, the secondary panel that has the well pump and the furnace and the refrigerator, and Jack and Jill went up the hill. It also feeds this plug that's right over here, right there, that single duplex. Now that single duplex does is it allows me to feed generator power into this room that I can direct to where I wish to direct it to. And where I direct it to would be down here. It's actually right behind that here to the left of the panel is a AOTA battery charger, similar to what you'd have installed in an RV or a trailer, so that when you would plug into shore power, you could charge your batteries. This has a smart module plugged into it that it will maintain the battery bank. It'll do the trickle charge and the deep charge and all that cool stuff that I don't have to come out and do myself. And it seems like it's been working for me in my favor fairly well. So this is a 20 amp battery charger, and it charges the battery over time. Or if I have to go on a generator, which I was able to do for about an hour on Thursday, it topped off the batteries for a period of time. I got a few more hours out of them. before I went back into a 21 volt thing. So I didn't get a lot out charged, but I got some. So back up here to the inverter wall. The next inverter over here, over here in the corner, there's a 300 watt, 24 volt pure sine wave inverter that I had extra. But I don't have a purpose for it at the moment. Now I could just plug in an extension cord to it and run something like maybe I could run the computer in the other room, which I just thought of now. But I don't have a direct purpose for it. It's just a spare. So the second inverter, which is this one, it feeds this side of the house, the south side, which it basically feeds this panel when the grid is down. And it works rather well, to tell you the truth. So, and that's really what I need. I need to be able to run my my power recliner that I sleep in most of the time, and my BiPAP, and my TV, stuff like that, so that I can sit here in the dark waiting for the power to come back on. So bare necessity. I could run the air concentrator, but it uses a lot of power, so I kind of live without it. I do have portable tank that I can get power off of, or get oxygen off of when there's a shutdown. And what else we show you? Over here, you can see is the off switch for the battery bank, and it's fed by 2-knot cable that runs to the battery bank. I wanted to make sure that I had the right size cables for the power that I'm using, so I went with the larger size. And then I have, it might be size 4 or 6 going back out from the battery charger to the battery bank. I don't quite remember exactly, but whatever it called for and the distance, that's what it went. And down here, as you may have noticed, is a watts meter and extension cord plugged to it. Now that's the wind turbine that's on the roof. It goes into it's a 1500 watt wind turbine. Pretty much only turns in the winter time when the leaves are all gone. And of course it was turning for the storm, but it would only actually contribute to the power when the inverter's on. It'll sync up with the full sine wave inverter, and also, so we'll contribute something to the thing, but I don't think it ever really runs to full power. It may have been on that day because it was booking, but I never think to come in and look at that to see what it is. So that's basically my power room in a nutshell. Like I say, I was wishing to put a PIP in here, so I was trying to think about it in advance to try to have everything I need, so the switch over to a PIP would be easier. This way kind of works because I can isolate the two sides. If I put a PIP in here, unless I ran two PIPs, well, it wouldn't be that easy to do everything because I have a secondary panel in the power room, so I couldn't feed this side to that panel. They still are divided, so I probably still need two PIPs, one for this side and one for that side. So I'm not really sure where it would go, but right now this is where I'm at. I didn't have enough power in the batteries to last the whole 28 hours. Now maybe I could have conserved a little more. And I'm not sure how that would do. 28 hours is a pretty long time to be without power. It's going to be a pretty severe storm. If I have the generator working and running, I do have a longer ability, but without the generator, it certainly becomes a bit of a challenge. And frankly, unless I get an electric start generator, it's hard for me to manage it. It's kind of hard for me to manage it anyway. My car is actually at the dealership. It's waiting for a part, and because of the strike that GM has going on right now for the last month, parts are becoming harder to get, and I'm waiting for a part for the power steering. The power steering fluid just all leaks out. I just had the steering rack and pump replaced. That was $3,000. How many solar panels can I put in for $3,000? But they found this sectional line was bad, but they can't get it from GM because of the strike. So here we are. I'm without a car for the moment. If I had the car, I would have been able to take refuge at my daughter's, or at worst go to a hotel or something. But I'd like to be able to just flip some switches and run. So, a standby generator or a generator that has an electric start. But if you don't use it, it won't be available when you need it. I mean, and that's what I think the issue was, is the last time I started it up was probably 2 years ago, and you really should start it up once a month. And I didn't do that. So I'll have to figure out what to do with that part. But that's my explanation of the power room. And hopefully I didn't talk on too long, about 30 minutes. I'll probably upload this at a lower resolution so that it's not a 3-day upload. And if you think that it's not a good resolution, let me know. Anything you have, suggestions or whatever, leave a comment down below. And as always, happy tubing. Get out with your camera and shoot some video or dig in some dirt. Ta-ta.